Google Incorporated. We're going to take a look inside Google's culture, and to do so, we're going to introduce our team here.
My name is GERAN.
My name is Brian Green.
I'm Ding Song.
I'm Fan Wu.
I'm ZHAOYI Li.
To analyze Google's culture, we decided to use two classics of business literature. I think everyone's familiar with Geert Hofstede's Culture's Consequences. If not, you might want to bone up for the midterm, or the final. We're using Hofstede's 6 dimensions of corporate culture to analyze. And then, In Search of Excellence, which was written in 1982, is a description of practices recommended to be a dynamic company. Peters and Waterman studied originally 62 companies, and then they brought it down to 43 companies, interviewed them, found out what they were doing that made them so successful, and then they knocked it down to 8 themes. What we've done is we've combined the 6 dimensions of Hofstede with 7 out of the 8 themes of Peters and Waterman. And by matching them together, we're finding a description of Google's culture and an explanation for why they're so successful.
So I'm going to talk about the process-oriented versus result-oriented. So Google's former CEO has a famous saying which says, "Don't be sissy, be productive and be results-oriented." And Google is also famous for its 8 habits of highly effective managers, which can be concluded to 3 points. Firstly, Google's culture encourages employees to take moonshots. Secondly, Google managers often say that every failure is an opportunity to learn. Lastly, Google's emphasis on results and tolerance for failure is working as a greater stimulus for greater creativity and innovation and productivity in its workforce.
For the second part, I'm going to talk about the employee-oriented with job-oriented. And for the Google, I'm going to take the employee-oriented because the Google is the company that is very care about their employee. And the only reason they did that, because the company can receive huge return in productivity and loyalty. And the Google and the employee in the Google company can have a healthy care, children care, and free food. Employee can work for the company without worried, and also the employee can enjoy the open workplace and freedom to choose a project and 20% time for personal project. And the second point is Google education. This is the company training, company formal training geared to specific road, and it can. The major that they can cover is engineering, managing, and sales. For that training is because different method to treat different employee, and it can help employee to know the new workplace quickly, and it can help them to play an important role in the future in the company.
So from my part, I'm talking about the professional project. So what do you think the Google is? I'm asking myself. It's professional. Yeah. Why Google is professional? Because Google offers about 20 work hours, developers personal project, and Google has a lot of service starting the project. And dominating how the employee depart the benefit to Google, and the Google understands the businessman, and because Google is a small number of the companies who learn the benefit entrepreneurship. For the sec, like when we running a project, running up companies, and with source in a big larger company will fall back on, and the great one of the Google is one of the great thing about Google is that the source independence, and the last one is Google encourage autonomy shape because it creates a great sense and project ownership and a sense of responsibility to the company, and resulting in higher performance.
Okay, I'm going to talk about the open versus close. Open versus close.
Is that picture you?
Yeah.
So what's the point of that picture?
No, just showing each other. Showing our picture to everybody
Okay,
to
so
see who's going to take which part. Okay, open versus close. I specifically describe a company's communication of culture. There are two main ideas. The first idea is if a newcomer is easy or hard to fit into the organization. The second part is about how fast the newcomer can feel like they can feel comfortable doing their work. Okay, Google is open and also it's closed. It's closed on its hiring process because there are three main characteristics that Google is looking for when they hire people. I find this information in Google's job page. The three characteristics are comfort with ambiguity, bias to action, and collaborative nature. I think there are not so many people fit these characteristics at the same time, so I think it's closed. Google is also open. It provides its employees a lot of perks like healthcare, free food, and dry cleaning, and so on. Also, it encourages employees to interact with each other, like to keep the office door open and share information to anyone you want. The conclusion is that Google is both open and closed. Only a certain type of person can fit into the company, but when he can fit into the company, he can fit in very quickly. How do these two parts affect the performance? First of all, like what I just said, Google employees have similar characteristics because based on the three characteristics the company has to hire people. So it makes group work much easier. Second of all, group provides many perks which makes the environment very relaxed. So they reduce the pressure and increase the employees' working performance and productivity.
I'd like to discuss the dimension Shedd calls loose versus tight. Peters and Waterman recommend that a company should be simultaneously loose and tight, which Google does very successfully. They're tight because they have their values and philosophy that everyone's required to follow. But they're very loose, and in some ways they're famous about this. Their sense of humor, which they commonly have April Fool's jokes. One is they added a feature to Google search called Google Knows, where you could search by how something smelled. And another one is they added to Google Translate the ability to translate what your animals are saying. So But also, what's less well known is Google's very much against a rigid hierarchy. When you get hired at Google, they only accept people who are very strongly driven and very intelligent. These people don't need a lot of management. So instead, what managers find themselves doing is trying to persuade these very bright, very driven people to join their projects and stick with it. And most of management is now mostly the manager. If an employee has a problem, they welcome the employee to come in and kind of be a sounding board for what the problems the employee's having. So they don't solve things, they help the employee solve it themselves.
This one is about the normative versus pragmatic. Google says that it sets itself as a pragmatic because there's a philosophy for Google which is to focus on the user and all else will follow. A good example is Google's search engine. And but the question is Google really pragmatic? Because search engine is not the only thing that Google has. Google only has many products like Google goggles, noses, and so on. They are very cool, right? But are they really meet the customer's needs? That's the question.
So to conclude, I'm not going to introduce this one by one because of the time limit, but all of these factors here have contributed a lot to Google's current success. And if Google adheres to this path and keeps striving like this, it is very likely to continue its success for the future. So that's all for our presentation.